So let's talk about artificial intelligence. It is completely reshaping our world, and it's happening so fast it's hard to keep up. But here's the thing, while pretty much all of us are using it, how many of us can honestly say we understand it? That's the big question we're going to dig into today.
I mean, just think about it for a second. AI is picking your next song, it's finishing your sentences in your emails, and it's showing up in our jobs and schools more and more every single day. It is literally everywhere. But there is this massive gap, right? A gap between just using the tools and being truly literate, understanding how they work, what they're built on, and the real impact they're having. That's the gap we're going to explore. So, here's our plan for this explainer. We're going to start with a basic definition of AI literacy. Then, we'll build on that with a super practical framework. After that, we'll layer on a critical perspective, look at some of the real-world harms, see how it all clicks together, and then wrap up with why all of this really truly matters for you.
All right, let's kick things off with the fundamentals. What in the world do we actually mean when we say AI literacy? You're probably hearing this term pop up more often, and I'll give you a little spoiler. It's about way more than just getting good at writing prompts.
Okay, let's ground ourselves with this definition from Digital Promise. The words I really want you to focus on here are critically understand and evaluate. See? This tells you right away it's not just about being tech savvy. It's about having the judgment, the wisdom to use these incredibly powerful systems safely and effectively. It's basically becoming a core skill for just getting by in the world today.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting because the idea kind of splits into two paths. On one side, you've got your standard AI literacy, which is all about the how, the practical skills to use and size up these tools. But then you have critical AI literacy, which asks why. It zooms way out to look at power, context, and the huge systems that this technology exists within. You really need both to see the whole picture. So let's dive into that skills-based foundation first. How do you actually go about building AI literacy? Well, lucky for us, there's a really clear framework for that. The Digital Promise Framework lays out these 3 key actions that all work together. First, you have to understand the basics of how this stuff works. Once you have that understanding, you can evaluate it, weigh the good against the bad. And then finally, you can use it in a smart, purposeful way. The crucial thing here is that this isn't a 1, 2, 3 checklist. It's more like a cycle where each part is constantly feeding the others. And this table breaks down the specific skills that make it all happen. We're talking about everything from algorithmic thinking to understanding data privacy, and this one's huge, being able to spot misinformation. Think of these 6 practices as the building blocks, the real how-to for developing that understanding and evaluation we were just talking about. Okay, so we've got our foundation of skills. That's the how. But skills by themselves aren't enough, right? Now it's time to add the scaffolding that gives it all meaning. This is the critical lens that makes us ask the really tough questions. This quote from researcher Kate Crawford just gets right to the heart of it all. This idea that tech is just a neutral tool, well, it's a myth. Every technology, and especially AI, is shaped by the people and the systems that create it. It reflects their values, their biases, their power. And that leads us to the most important question of all. Who's holding that power? And that brings us to this idea of techno-determinism. It sounds complicated, but you see it everywhere. It's that relentless hype, that marketing that tells us that AI taking over every part of our lives is just inevitable, like it's a force of nature we can't stop. Well, critical AI literacy is what allows us to push back and say, hang on a second. Is this really inevitable? And more importantly, is it what we actually want? It helps us see past the sales pitch. So what happens when we take this critical lens and apply it to the real world? Well, it helps us see past all the slick demos and the promises of magic. It helps us see the very real risks and harms that are often hiding just under the surface. I absolutely love this question from the source material. The hype around AI, it's seductive, right? It's designed to feel smooth and perfect. But a critical approach is all about finding the seams, the little imperfections, the hidden costs, the stuff the creators might not want us to look at too closely. And these seams, they're not just theories. They are causing real-world harm. We're seeing AI models spit out ugly stereotypes because they were trained on biased data. We see them confidently make up false information. And behind that clean interface, there are real issues of exploited labor, massive environmental costs, and the very real risk that we all just start thinking the same way. The stakes are incredibly high. So, the big question is, how do we bring these 2 big ideas together?
the practical skills, and that critical lens. Well, this is where AI literacy really becomes a powerful tool for just navigating the modern world. And here's where it all clicks. Take a look. Let's take the practice of ethics and impact. The basic skill is being able to spot bias in an AI's output. But the critical lens makes us ask those deeper questions. Who actually benefits from this tool? Who designed it? What are the hidden environmental costs? See the difference? The skill tells you what to look for. The critical questions tell you why it matters. It's the difference between seeing a problem and understanding the system that created it. Okay, let's wrap this all up by focusing on what is truly the most important part of this whole conversation. You. Because this isn't just an academic discussion about technology. This is about our society and our future. Here is the absolute bottom line, the main takeaway. AI literacy is the new media literacy. It's a fundamental skill, just as important as reading, for being an engaged and responsible citizen. We live in a world where algorithms are making decisions about what news we see or who gets a loan. Being able to understand and question those systems, that's power, that's agency. So ultimately, it all comes down to this one question. Is AI going to be a tool that helps everyone, a democratizing force, or will it just end up concentrating more power in the hands of a few? The good news is, the answer isn't written yet. It really depends on us. It depends on our willingness to go from being passive consumers to becoming critically literate citizens. Your literacy, that's what will decide the future.